Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to learn about core extraction distributed ad hoc routing protocol. So let's get started. The working of this routing protocol is termed as hybrid routing protocol. You see, core extraction distributed ad hoc routing protocol is one of the main type in this hybrid routing protocols, and the working principle is also same. Here, each node maintains the network topology information up to m hop. M hops means here each and every node in the network maintains the information of the neighboring nodes which are up to a certain number of hops. Core extraction distributed ad hoc routing protocol CEDR integrates means it combines both routing and support for QoS. It integrates both routing and the support for QoS. QoS means quality of service. It is based on the extraction of core nodes. Core nodes are the most dominating nodes. They are also called as the dominator nodes in the network, which together approximate the minimum dominating set. Means I'll tell you about this dominator nodes briefly. You see, a dominating set of a graph is defined as a set of nodes in a graph such that every node in the graph is either present in the dominating set or is a neighbor of some node present in the dominating set. I'll explain it to you. Let us consider this network. This is a network, right? This is a network example. For example, if you consider this, let us consider this 12, 10, 4, 8 is a DS, means dominating set. Then it is a dominating set. Then this, what is meant by dominating set? Here, as you can see here, it is the set of nodes in the graph such that every node in the graph is either present in the DS or is a neighbor of some node present in the DS. Means if you consider this as the main dominating node, then this 5 will also be a dominating set node, because 5 node is the neighbor of this node 4, right? So if, for example, let us consider these are the nodes that present 4, 10, 8, 12. These are the nodes that present in the dominating set. And if these are present in the dominating set, then their neighbors can also be present in the dominating set. This is this line states. A dominating set DS of a graph is defined as a set of nodes in the graph such that every node in the graph is either present in the DS, means dominating set itself, or is a neighbor of some node that is present in the dominating set. There exists at least one core node within 3 hops. There exists at least one core node within 3 hops. I'll tell you what is meant by 3 hops. You see, let us consider this 5 node 5 is our core node. What is meant by 1 hop? I'll tell you. From 1 to 5, the distance is 1 hop, right? See, from 1 to 5, 1. 5 to 10, 1. If it is from 1 to 10, it is 2 hops, right? 1 to 5 plus 5 to 10. So this is 2 hops. If it is from 1 to 5, then it is single hop. If it is from 1 to 10, then it is 2 hops. 3 hops means if it is from 1 to 12, 1, 2, 3. That is 3 hops. I hope you understand it. That is 3 hops. The DS means dominating set of the least cardinality. Cardinality means number of elements or the number of nodes that is present in a set. Normally, cardinality means the number of elements that are present in a set. In a graph is called minimum dominating set. If the dominating set numbers are very, very less, like 5 or 10, then that set is known as minimum dominating set. Nodes that choose a core node, those nodes that which choose the core node as their dominating node are called as core member nodes of the core node concerned. For example, let us consider this 10, 6, 4, 1, 2. if at all they need to choose a core node, if they want a core node, then all will choose this 5. Example, let us consider this 5 is chosen as this core node. Then these members which have selected and elected out a node as the core node are called as core members. See, nodes that choose a core node as their dominating node, the core node itself, the dominating node for them, are called as the core member nodes of the core node concerned. The path between two core nodes is termed as virtual link. I'll explain it using this. See, let us consider this 5 and 12 are the core nodes, means they are the core nodes. You see, there exists a virtual link between two core nodes. You see, there exists a path between two core nodes that is known as virtual link, but there is no physical link between these two core nodes. If at all, if you consider this 13 as a core node, you see there is no direct link, there is no network link. See, network link is represented by this blue color dashed line, but there is no such type of link between this core node 5 and 13, right? But there exists a virtual link. There is a path between this core nodes 5 and 13. This path is known as virtual link. The path between two core nodes is termed as virtual link. SEDER employs a distributed algorithm to select the core nodes. You see, SEDER, this SEDER routing protocol employs this distributed algorithm to select the core nodes. As the name itself suggests, SEDER is core extraction distributed ad hoc routing protocol. So it employs this distributed algorithm in order to select out the core nodes. The selection of the core nodes represents the core extraction phase. This is the most important phase in this SEDER. You see, when you are going to select out the core nodes, then that phase is known as core extraction phase. SEDER uses the core broadcast mechanism. SEDER uses this core broadcast mechanism to transmit any packet throughout the network in the unicast mode. You see, SEDER uses this core broadcast mechanism. This is the mechanism used in order to transmit any packet throughout the network in the unicast mode. Involving as minimum number of nodes as possible. It will involve as minimum number of nodes as possible in order to reduce the path length, propagation delay, etc. These nodes that take part in the core broadcast These nodes that takes part in the core broadcast process are called as core nodes. Those nodes which takes part in the core broadcast process are called as core nodes. So I guess you know about core nodes definition. Now here the nodes which are involved in the process of transmitting the packets, which is core broadcast process. Here the nodes which are responsible for that to happen are called as core nodes. In order to carry out a core broadcast efficiently, each core node must know about its neighboring core nodes. You see, let us consider this example again. Here, this is 5, 12, 13, 11 and 3. These are our core nodes. In order to efficiently do that core broadcast process, the core nodes must have the information about its neighbors. For example, if you consider this core node 5, then it must have the information regarding node 1, node 2, right? Node 6, like that. If you consider this node 3, then it must have information regarding node 2 and node 4. Likewise, each and every core node in the network must and should have the information of its neighbors. The transfer of information about the neighboring core nodes. The transfer of the information about the neighboring core nodes results in significant control overhead at high mobility. See, you are going to transfer the information, right, about the core nodes, which results in the significant control overhead at the high mobility, which is a disadvantage. When a core node to which many nodes are attached moves away, means due to the high mobility, core node moves away from them, each node has to reselect a new core node, right? If a core node moves away or due to some high mobility problems, then we have to immediately reselect a core node, right? New core node. The selection of core nodes, which is similar to the distributed leader election process. This is similar to the distributed leader election process. Involves substantial control overhead. It involves substantial control overhead, which is also a disadvantage. Each core node maintains its neighborhood local topology information. As I have already told you, each and every core node must and should have the information regarding its neighborhood nodes, right? Next one, CEDAR employs an efficient link state propagation mechanism. You see here, the CEDAR protocol employs an efficient link state propagation mechanism in which information regarding the presence of high bandwidth and stable links is propagated to several more nodes. Means here CEDAR employs the efficient link state propagation mechanism in which if at all high bandwidth and stable links information is present, then it will immediately propagate that information to all the nodes. Compare it to the propagation of information regarding the low bandwidth and unstable links, which is suppressed and kept local. Means in CEDAR, using this efficient link state propagation mechanism, if high bandwidth and stable links information is available, then it will be immediately propagated to all the nodes that are present in the network. If low bandwidth and unstable links are present, then it is not propagated. That's what this statement says. Next point, to propagate link information. To propagate the link information, slow moving increase waves. This is one type of waves, slow moving increase waves, and fast moving decrease waves are used to propagate the link information about the links, means network links between two nodes. These waves are used. Slow moving increase waves and fast moving decrease waves are used. An increase wave carrying update information is originated when the bandwidth on the link concerned increases above the threshold level. Means an increase wave carrying update information is originated. It will be originated when the bandwidth is increased above a certain threshold. The fast moving decrease waves are propagated in order to quickly notify the nearby nodes, about the reduction in the available bandwidth. Core nodes. Nearby nodes means core nodes which are at most separated by 3 hops. You see here, slow moving increase waves will originate packet when bandwidth increases. Fast moving decrease waves will originate the update packet when the bandwidth decreases. That is what this states. Next point. As the bandwidth increases, information moves slowly. If bandwidth increases, then the information moves slowly. Only stable high bandwidth link, means the link which is stable and which can accommodate high bandwidth link state, only stable high bandwidth link state information traverses long distance. Means it can travel long distances. Otherwise, no information can travel long distances because the information will move very slowly if the bandwidth is increased. If the high bandwidth link is unstable, we have an unstable high bandwidth link, then the corresponding increase wave is overtaken by the fast moving decrease waves, which represents the decrease in available bandwidth on the corresponding link. You see, which represents the decrease in the available bandwidth on the corresponding link. These waves are very adaptive to the dynamic topology of the ad hoc wireless networks. Increase and decrease waves are initiated only when changes in the link capacity crosses the certain threshold levels. These waves, increase and decrease waves are initiated when bandwidth changes, right? Only when changes in link capacity indicates bandwidth, right, crosses the certain thresholds. That is only when there is a significant change in the link capacity. For slight change, they will not just originate any packets. Fast moving decrease waves are prevented from moving across the entire network, thereby suppressing low bandwidth unstable information to the local nodes only. As I have already told you, efficient link state mechanism is here applied in this CEDAR node. So no bandwidth information will not be propagated to all other nodes. This is the process of route establishment in the CEDAR. It is carried out in two phases. You see, route establishment is carried out in two phases in this CEDAR. The first phase finds out a core path, from the source to the destination. The core path is from the source to the destination. Why it is termed as core path? You will get to know about this. The core path is defined as a path from the denominator of the source node, that means source core node, to the denominator of the destination node, destination core. I'll explain to you. Let us consider this example again. Here, see, this is our source node. This one is our source node and this 15 is our destination node. So from source to destination, we need to find the core path, right? In order to find that, with respect to source node, we need to identify the core node. Here 5. This is source core. With respect to this destination node, we need to identify a core node with respect to destination. Here that is 12. Let us consider. I know that 13 is also there, but let us consider this path. Here it is 12, right? So this is destination core and this is source core. The path between these two is called as core path. See, the core path is defined as a path from the denominator of the source node, that is source core, to the denominator of the destination node, that is destination core. In the second phase, in the route establishment second phase, a QoS means quality of service feasible path is found over the core path. Basically, you are going to find out core path and a QoS path in this route establishment phase of CEDAR. A node initiates a route request. A node will initiate this route request packet if the destination is not in the local topology table of its core node. If at all the destination information is not there in its core node, then a route request packet will be initiated in order to find the path. Otherwise, the path is immediately established, as we already know that the core node will have the information regarding the all other nodes. If at all that information is not there, then these route request packets are initiated in order to find the path between the core node and destination node. For establishing a route, the source core initiates a core broadcast. For establishing the route, the source core initiates a core broadcast. Why? To establish the route between the core node and the source code and the destination core, in which the route request is sent to all the neighboring core nodes as unicast data. If at all there is no direct link between the source core and the destination core, then this route request packet is flooded through, it is not flooded, it is sent to all the neighboring nodes as unicast data. I'll explain you using this. See, here this source core does not have information regarding this destination core. Then it sends the route request packet to all the core nodes. See, all the core nodes will get the route request packet from this source core. That is core broadcast, which is done on unicast mechanism. Each of these recipient core nodes in turn forwards the root request to its neighboring core nodes if the destination is not its core member. If at all, see here 5 sends the root request packet to all these core nodes, right? If they have got that root request packet, then they will immediately send the root reply packet if they do not have information regarding the destination node. See here, a core node which has the destination node as its core member replies to the source core. Means if at all a core node has the information regarding the destination node, then it will immediately reply about that to the source core. Once a core path is established, a path with the required QoS support is then chosen. As I have already told you, in the root establishment phase of setup, first we need to establish core path and then QoS path. To find a path, see here, to find a path that can provide the required QoS, quality of service, the source core first finds a path to the domain of the farthest possible core node in the core path, which can provide the bandwidth required. In order to calculate the best QoS path, it will check all the core nodes and it will check for the bandwidth also. Among the available paths to this domain, the source core chooses the shortest, widest path. Means shortest path, the path length must be very less with highest bandwidth. Means you can transmit more number of packets within that path. Assume that, sorry for the inconvenience, assume midcore is the farthest possible core node found by the source core. Let us assume that the midcore is the farthest possible core node that is found by the source core. In the next iteration, means in the next process of finding out the QoS path, midcore becomes the new source core and finds another midcore node that satisfies the QoS support requirements, means which has the highest bandwidth and shortest path. This iterative process repeats until a path to the destination with the required bandwidth is found. See, I'll show you with this example. Let us consider this core node 5. It is the source core, right? So it finds the QoS path. What is the midcore now? Here 12 is the midcore. Then it will find out the distance between them and it will calculate the bandwidth which it can accommodate. If this is not the correct one, if this is not accurate, then appropriate, then this 12 will become the source core now and this 13 will become the mid-core now. The process so on repeats until the best path, that is shortest path with highest bandwidth, is found out. Throughout the network, this process will be repeated. So this is known as iterative process. See, this iterative process repeats until a path to the destination with the required bandwidth is found. If no feasible path is available, if no such path is available, the source node is informed about the non-availability of the QoS path. If it not available, then it will say about the non-availability of such a path. Consider the figure 1. This is the figure 1. This is the figure 1. I'll tell about it. Consider the figure 1 when the source is node 1. Source node is node 1 and the destination is node 15. I'll explain to you. See, this is the root establishment in Cedar. This is the root establishment in Cedar. See, this node 1 is our source node and this node 15 is our destination node. And the core nodes are the nodes. Nodes 5, 3, 11, 12, 13. These are our core nodes. In this figure, node 5, this node 5 is the dominator. It is the dominator of nodes 1 and 6, right? So this is the dominator of nodes 1 and 6. Similarly, this node 12, it is the dominator of node 15. when node 1 initiates a root request, means when it initiates this root request packet to be flooded throughout the network, then this node 1 will intimate about it to its core node. It will send that root request packet. I'm going to send root request packet. I'm going to flood the root request packet through all the network. It will send that information from source to core node. See this. When node 1 initiates a root request packet, to be flooded throughout the network, it intimates its core node, means node 1 will intimate the node 5 that source ID and destination ID pair information. If the core node 5 does not have any information about the dominator of node 15, means if this source core does not have any information regarding the destination core, then does not have any information about the dominator of the node 15, which is the destination node, it initiates a core broadcast in order to find the root. Due to this, all nearby core nodes receives the root request in the unicast transmission mode, as I have already told you. This unicast transmission mode is done on the virtual links. Virtual links means the links between two core nodes, but they do not have any network link. Here, between this and 5 node and node 13, there is a virtual link, right? This violet one. For core node 5, the virtual link with core node 3 comprises of the links 5 to 2 and 2 to 3. See here, between the nodes 5 and 3, there is a virtual link which involves this is the virtual link, but the actual link is 5 to 2, 2 to 3. 5 to 2 and 2 to 3, while the virtual link between core nodes 5 and 13 is represented by the path. See, virtual link between 5 and 13 is represented by the path 5 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 13. When a core node receives the core broadcast message, it checks whether the destination is its core member or not. A core node having the destination as one of its core members replies to the source code node. If it has it, then it will reply to the source code node. Actually, CEDAR is a big topic. Please be with me if you want to understand it completely. In our case, core node 12 replies to the core node 5. Why? Because core node 12 has the information regarding the destination. This node has the information regarding the destination, right? So it will reply to the source node. See, in our case, core node 12 replies to the core node 5. The path between core nodes 12 and 5 constitutes a core path. Once a core path is established, the feasibility of the path in terms of availability of the required bandwidth is checked. If the required bandwidth is available on that path, the connection is established. Otherwise, the core path is rejected. CEDAR attempts to repair a broken route locally when a path break occurs. If at all a path break occurs, then it attempts to repair that locally. When a link UV, for example, let us consider two nodes U and V. When a link UV on the path from source node to the destination node fails, then node U sends back. What it sends back? It sends back notification. It sends back a notification to the source and starts the recomputation of the route from itself to the destination node. When a path link between U and V nodes breaks, then node U will send back a notification to the source and it will start the route recomputation process from itself to the destination. Until the route recomputation gets completed, until the process of route recomputation gets completed, node U drops every subsequent packet it receives. It will drop every subsequent packet it receives. Once the source node receives the notification sent by the node U, it immediately stops transmitting packets. It will immediately stop transmitting packets belonging to the corresponding flow. Means source node will not transmit any packets belonging to the corresponding flow as the path break has occurred. and starts computing a new route to the destination. It will start computing a new route to the destination. See, the link break can occur in 3 cases. If the link breaks occurs near the source, means near the source node, if the link break occurs, then the route recomputation at node U takes long time. It will take long time. Node U notifications. Node U sends notifications, right? So to reach those notifications to the source node, it will be very rapid. The notifications will be sent very rapidly to the source node, and it prevents the large packet loss. Here is case 2. If the link break occurs close to the destination. If the link break occurs near the destination area, then node U notifications, the notifications which are initiated by the node U, reaches the source node after a long time, because the source will be far away from the destination, right? So the notifications which are sent by the node U will reach after a long time. Route recomputation time at the node U is small. Route recomputation time at the node U is small because they have already reached the destination, right? It will prevent the large packet loss. It will prevent the large packet loss. If at all the link break occurs somewhere near the middle of the path, means not near the source and also not near the destination. If it occurs somewhere middle in the path, then local route recomputation mechanism and route break notification mechanism are not fast enough. They are very slow. Then considerable amount of packet loss already occurs, means packet loss will occur rapidly. See, consider the network topology shown in figure 2. I'll show it to you. When the link between nodes 12 and node 15 breaks, node 12 tries to reconnect to the destination using an alternate path that satisfies the bandwidth requirement. It also notifies the source node about the link break. See this. Here the link between this into mark shows that it shows that this is a broken link. When this happens, then this 12 will immediately send a notification to the source node regarding this path break, and an alternative path will be found out immediately in order to satisfy this condition. See, this is the alternate path. This is the alternate path. See this. Previously it used to be, that is from 1 to 5, 5 to 12, 12 to 15. Now it is from 1 to 5, 5 to 13, 13 to 15. See, this is the core path now. The source node tries to reconnect to the destination by reinitiating the route establishment process after the link has been broken. In case node 12 does not have any other feasible path, then the alternate path, that is from 1 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 8, 13 to 15 found by the source node is used for the further routing of packets. See here, if at all this link break has occurred and there is no other path from this 12 to 15 is not available, then this path has been chosen by the source node. This path, that is from 1 to 5. See, from 1 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 13, 13 to 15. This is the core path. If at all another path is not available. The advantages, these are the advantages. It performs both routing and QoS path computation very efficiently with the help of core nodes. The increase and decrease waves helps in appropriate propagation of the stable high bandwidth link information and the unstable low bandwidth link information respectively. Core broadcast provides a reliable mechanism for establishing paths with QoS support. These are the disadvantages. Since route computation is carried out at the core nodes only, the movement of core nodes adversely affects the performance of the protocol. The core node update information could cause a significant amount of control overhead. Thank you so much for being with me. If you find my video worth watching, please do subscribe to my channel.